Hey everybody. I had some thoughts tonight, and they've been kind of building up on me, and I wanted to be able to come and talk to you. I have a lot of thoughts about Afghanistan. I've had a lot of thoughts about Afghanistan, some of the things going on, some decisions that our leadership have made. I thought about posting some here and there. I thought about putting some stuff online. But I think words are one thing and people are another thing. And so I thought it was important to actually, for you to hear my voice, to know the human that's behind those words. And here I am, the human behind the words. I wish more people would do stuff like this. But I wanted to talk about Afghanistan. But before, I actually just wanted to talk about Ray Alcaraz, Sergeant Raymond Alcaraz. Today is the 31st of August, 2021. 11 years ago today, I woke up with news that our guys had been in a roadside bomb attack, and that my buddy Alcaraz was on his way to the forward surgical team where he was going to be worked on. So my first thoughts were, okay, he's gonna be fine. Maybe he's an amputee, that's okay. We can work with that. I've worked at Walter Reed. I've seen tons of amputees be able to thrive after their injuries. And so that's what my first thoughts were. I realized very quickly that the situation was a lot more serious. I made it over to the tent where our forward surgical team was. And, after some time trying to resuscitate him, to stabilize him, we realized that he was not coming back. And that was a pretty hard day. We all got hit pretty hard from that, and it ended up really playing a significant role in my life. Even to this day, I have a hard time obviously talking about it. So, but I just wanted to thank you, Ray, for your sacrifice, for the other men that lost their lives that day, for the men and women that have lost their lives, for America in general. I don't know that people really understand what freedom feels like, and that's hard because I don't know that they understand what not having that freedom feels like. So I want to celebrate you today. If I planned this well, I'd have a shot, and I'd take a shot and say, cheers, my friend, and I miss you. Yeah. So let's, so I want to talk about Afghanistan. There's been a lot of stuff going on with Afghanistan. Obviously, you guys have seen in the headlines. I've had a lot of thoughts, had a lot of questions, and a lot of personal exploration, and what does this mean for me? How do I feel about it? And there's a lot of different emotions that go through it. And a lot of my guys, a lot of the people I served with, we are all having a bunch of different emotions about it. I know you've already probably read most of everything that I'm going to say here, but this is from me. But personally, I think one of the things for me that I have to hold close at there has been some good things that have happened over the last 20 years. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them. But there were some bad things first. Like we lost 13 soldiers that I personally think was somewhat preventable if we had planned this better, if we had a better exit. I was pretty surprised that we had given up our fixed wing airports, our runways, so quickly before we had made the decision to get out. A lot of you guys don't know. So if you don't know a lot about the Taliban and you've heard that they're bad guys or whatever, I don't think you get it. It's not like Antifa running through the streets, because even if somebody killed somebody running through the streets, they would still be held accountable. The one thing that's hard about Afghanistan was that terrorists would run around and they would kill people. The bad guys would kill people, and there was no accountability. And so what would happen is you end up with there's no judge, no jury, there's no police officer that say, hey, bad guy, come over here, handcuffs, and you're innocent until proven guilty. Like, it's not America like that. It's, hey, I killed this guy, let's go have a drink, and I'll kill some Americans tomorrow, and it's not going to be a big deal. So that's really crazy, a crazy concept, but that's what happens. And so, these 13 soldiers were killed because there was chaos. They were killed because we didn't have control. The Taliban were really calling the shots here. We were really at the mercy of a terrorist organization allowing us, how crazy that I'm saying, a terrorist organization allowing us to get our people out, which is an insane statement to me. But that's what happened. They allowed us to get out. The 13 soldiers died, and I have read about a lot of them. I'm really sad for those families that thought their soldiers, their loved ones were so close to getting out. And they didn't, and they came back in flag-covered caskets. And that's, if you don't feel that, man, I don't know if you really understand freedom. But that's a lot of blood that has been shed because we can be here and have this conversation. But on top of that, there's almost 200 Afghan people that died also. And our whole point, we wanted to stabilize this country and stand them up on their feet so they could take care of themselves, so they can manage these terrorist cells, the bad guys that are trying to take over. And the fact that they don't even care about their own civilians and just trying to take out 13 people at the cost of 200 of their own people should tell you something. So we're mourning these 13 service members that have given all for us. And then there's 200 people that have died over there that we have really not even talked about. And that's hard for me. They're people, they're humans. They hurt just like we hurt. So that's hard for me. When I was there too, I actually met a bunch of different locals, and to the point where I got pretty close with a couple of them. I've done interviews with them. Maybe I'll post them at some point. But one of my friends, Saeed, he was a fantastic local guy that worked at the bazaar on our fob. And I would visit him and have different conversations. And at one point in time, we got close enough where I felt comfortable to ask him, how do you feel about us being here? Do you feel like we're doing something? And he was so, quick to say how thankful he was for the Americans and that they have really done so much to improve their local economy, improve their ability to provide for themselves, and that we've really dumped so much into their community that it's been so positive. And one day I went down to his shop to talk with him, and he wasn't there, and so figured I'd go talk to him the next day. Went down the next day, noticed he wasn't there again, which is very unlike him, to find out that he had gone home a little bit later, a couple days before that. And this was actually just a very short amount of time after Ray died. But he had left the fob a little bit later because he had gotten more privileges to be able to move around base a little bit more freely. And to find out that the Taliban stopped him and accused him of working with the Americans, and without any questions cut his head off. And that was it. The other guy that was in the car was actually, they hung him, but he didn't die, and he lived to tell the story. And that's how we found out what happened. But those people that killed the guy, it's not like, in America, we're at least going to file a report looking for somebody or whatever. People are going to be at least held to some kind of justice. But there, it's hey, I just, cut this guy's head off, and the next thing you know, I'm out of here. That's crazy to me. And my other friends that are there, what's going on with them right now? I think about, what about your families? You had plans to marry these people. You had children. What's your life now? You lived 20 years in kind of freedom almost, and now you don't have that. What happens to your wives, your daughters, the daughters of those people there? That was 10 years ago. Those 7-year-olds are 17-year-olds, and now they possibly are taken from the Taliban. by the Taliban to do whatever they want them to do, forced into relationships, raped, killed, whatever. And people don't have I can't sit here and think about all this, because I do need to have a point where I do see some good. Like, do I think it was all for naught? We talk about, you heard people say it wasn't in vain. Your fight wasn't in vain. It wasn't in vain. It was, yeah, okay, I got it. It wasn't in vain. I don't feel like it was in vain, but I need some tangible things to tell me that it was okay. And I think, and so I actually started thinking more about this. I actually started doing a little bit of research on it, because I think it's important for me to be able to put some actual data on it, some objective data on it. And so the first thing is that we've had huge medical advances that have come from these two conflicts, the war on terror, right? Huge medical advances. I mean, so if you think about back in the Revolutionary War, there's a 40% casualty rate if you were injured severely. Like Revolutionary War, somebody gets hit with a cannonball or a musket or something like that, and there's a big wound that happened from it, you're going to die. 40% chance that you're going to die, right? So if you fast forward to World War II, those chances go up a little bit, or they go down a little bit. So now you're at 30%. So we've gotten a little bit better. But in Afghanistan, so one of the crazy things is we actually started getting better to the point where we were at the beginning of the war, about 20% survival rate from these big casualty injuries. And then during these wars, we came up with a new tourniquet system, right? New tourniquets to save for life saving. We could get them on quicker. We could make them tighter, appropriate. We didn't have to be so, for lack of a better term, in the Stone Age when we're dealing with these type of injuries. So we went down from 40% casualty rate in Revolutionary War to eventually an 8% casualty rate. We were able to save 92% of the people that had these big injuries, and a big part of that was because of tourniquets. And the tourniquet systems were developed to save lives, to save soldiers, Marines, and sailors, and all those guys over there, right? One of the things, there's a quote out there you might have heard that says the only winner in war is medicine. And sometimes we have to take from that, and that's good. It's not a terrible thing. There's a term in the medical world called the golden hour, and the golden hour is basically it says that 60 minutes from the time that if you can get somebody to a surgeon within 60 minutes of that injury, they have a much greater chance of living. It really increases their ability to stay alive. But that number was not great going into the war. Matter of fact, only 20%, in 2009 they did a study, only 20% of the casualties that were hit had made it back within that golden hour. And the Defense Secretary Gates back in 2009 did a study to say, like, hey, why aren't we getting these back within that golden hour? Can we do this better? Can we do it different? And so he put out a kind of task force to make that better, to improve those medevacs, those helicopter flights, those Black Hawks getting in and out. And by the end of the war, that number increased from 20%, less than 20% made it to the front lines, then 20% made it within the golden hour, to 76% made it in the golden hour. And that's huge, right? So think about all the lives that were saved just because we could get them to a surgeon quick enough. So that's incredible. That's a good thing that came from this war. And we're able to figure that out. I mean, so many other things. I mean, think about prosthetics. I mean, you guys know I worked in amputee care and burn care. Our ability to treat wounded service members with complex polytrauma advanced so incredibly much. And all this spills over into the civilian sector. So if you're not thinking like, hey, this in fact is actually super significant, It's not just for soldiers and service members and Marines. It's for everybody, right? So that's crazy. Prosthetic technology, just the different types of ways to teach people to be independent and live lives differently. Think about Paralympics that are happening right now, and the advances in the different equipment that they're using has really increased because of the need for and really the understanding that people with disabilities are significant, and we need to make sure that we cater to the inclusive needs of that population, and that's a huge deal. And in the military, we're able to do that more and more, and explore more and more ways to empower young people to be able to do that. I'm an occupational therapist. You guys know that, and one of the big things that we did while we were over there was I piloted a TBI program that had never been done before, where we took service members with concussion injuries and we treated them on the front lines. I was the first OT to deploy with a brigade combat team, and we developed an awesome program that learned how to treat service members and get them back to their units quickly, by maintaining their presence in theater. And I think that was really significant. From that one pilot program, we had 8 programs developed from that within a year of me being there. Within 2 years, we had eight more programs across Afghanistan. And we talk about lives lost, we talk about the physical injuries, but when you think about TBI, think about, the long-term effects and the concussions, the post-concussion syndromes, and the situations that they put themselves in post-concussion. And so we were able to really treat that and fine-tune it. So in the future of war, we know that that's already a problem. We know that that's something we have to look into and make sure that we, exploit to our benefit. Mental health, the way that we treat our service members, we don't look down on them as mental health casualties anymore. We look for ways to empower them and to normalize abnormal situations. Not normalize abnormal situations, but help them understand that their reaction to those abnormal situations is a normal reaction, and that's okay, and we can work with that. So there was a lot of good things that came from that, and I have to hang my hat on that. We did some good work. I also can't not talk again about Ray's sacrifice at that moment. The 4 guys that died at that same time, it changed us. It changed the significance of why I was there. It changed the significance of how we felt about being there. Those brothers and sisters, like I'm just as close to them today as I was then, and maybe even closer. And it's beautiful that Ray would be able to bring us together like that. If Ray doesn't die, I don't know that we don't understand the significance of freedom and the significance of what happens when somebody dies, what sacrifice means. We see these numbers all the time, but if we don't have a person that it goes to, then we can't feel it. We can't feel that. And that's hard, like on Memorial Day when people don't recognize that. If you don't recognize, like on Memorial Day, that when people died and people might be struggling on that day, family members, friends, service members they went with, and that's hard, Even if you don't really celebrate that day or don't think about it, just know that some people are really struggling on those days. And today, I was struggling today. Like I have to go to work still. I have to do things. It's not a holiday for me, but it's a significant day for me. And Ray died on my daughter's birthday. How crazy is that? So I celebrate her and I mourn him. Try to celebrate him, but it's still sad. It's mourning. So the last thing I just want to say is, like, I do have questions that I think that you should think about, moving forward. I do want to talk about our president. You guys don't, I don't talk a lot about politics. I don't post anything about it. I don't know who knows what my views are. And there's a big reason behind that, because one, I want to cheer for my president. The people that elect that president in office believe in that person to make a positive change for the country, and that's why they're there. And I don't know, there's a lot of controversy. Maybe there was voter fraud, maybe not, whatever. But Joe Biden's our president, and I want to root for him. And I think we should all root for him because guess what? Like, he represents us. When you were dogging Trump, you should have been rooting for him. Does he say stupid stuff? Certainly he does. But he had some great assets that he brought to the table. He had some great potential things that he was trying to do for our country because he thought that was the right thing to do for the country. And enough people saw the potential in him to put him in office. So I rooted for President Trump. And I root for President Biden. But what really makes me sad is, Biden goes to celebrate these service members, to welcome them home, and he's distracted by his watch. And mind you, it's not even like an Apple Watch that would buzz his wrist and tell him, hey, something's going on. It's just a watch, and he's checking the time constantly through that. And I just wanted him to stop doing that. Like those parents are standing there watching you try to pay respect to their kids, and you're just checking your time, the time on your watch. Like, what's happening right now? Is there a crisis? Was there a terrorist attack that you're trying to check in on? Like, what's happening right now? What's more important than the sacrifice of these people? So I'm angry about that. I'm really sad about that. And that, if you're not disappointed in that, I don't know where you stand, but you should be disappointed there, you guys. That's pretty poor. And I'm really disappointed that our president did that. It was his last opportunity as this war is going on to really pay respect for those people. And it's acute. It just happened. It's a fresh wound to all of us. And for our leader to sit there and not make that the priority, it's not acceptable. I don't believe in a lot of controversy. I don't think that people are doing things just to do things. I don't believe the vaccine is a big conspiracy to make us do things. I do believe in science. You make your own decision about all that. But a president's actions is going to speak volumes for the country that he represents, and that really it bothers me. And yeah, Trump, he bothered me a lot of times too. But this one really hurts me, and especially since it's so acutely happened. But another question that I had is, where do we go from here? You guys, I don't know if you thought about this, but 120,000 people were evacuated from Afghanistan. First of all, that should tell you they're terrified. They're terrified. But think about this. I live in Waco, Texas. We have about 130,000, 140,000 people in Waco, right? Think about on a dime, something happens. Every single person in our town has to get on a flight with nothing and go somewhere and start a life with nothing. Maybe knowing nobody. You don't have anything with you. 120,000 Afghanistan people, Afghans, fled that country to somewhere else with nothing. They may not even have a wallet. They may not have anything. They might not have anything with them. Just the fact, I got to get out of here. And that's crazy to me. You guys, what's going to happen with these people? Their lives have just been completely uprooted in a system that's broken, that's about to be led by people that are not going to be held accountable for their actions. And so I mourn for them, and I'm scared for them. And to the countries that take them, what do you do with these people? It's scary. It's hard to think about. Anyway, my last thought is just why I'm just surprised that we're negotiating with the Taliban. I don't understand it. I don't know what the future holds. I'm terrified for the friends, the people that live in Afghanistan. It's a beautiful country. I used to fly through those mountains. I took flights and flights all over the place. And one of the things that I remember thinking is how beautiful a country it was. Beautiful mountains and the snow, the snow-capped mountains. I would look in the mountains and think that could be an amazing ski resort. That could be like Aspen. You know, there's Snowmass right over there, Breckenridge. What beautiful, there's the Swiss Alps, but in Afghanistan. Like, it would be a beautiful, amazing country to visit if it was a place that was safe to visit. And I'm telling you, it's not safe to visit anymore. Like, you're not gonna really be able to go over there, maybe in your lifetime. We talk about America. There's a lot of issues we have here, but we're trying. And there's a lot of places that can't say that. A lot of you are really disappointed in our police system, our politics. We're not as equal as we should be, but we're trying, and we're making differences. And I think that if you could really sit back and understand that when I was in Afghanistan, if I decided I was going to leave that FOB, that forward operating base, if I was going to leave it, you know, for, let's say, go to the gas station and try to get a Snickers bar or something, I would be killed. I would be captured. I'd be killed probably within 24 hours. Matter of fact, they'd get paid a lot. I was major, you know. I was a high-ranking or a field grade officer. Man, they would have probably gotten paid quite a bit of money to drag my body through the streets. How crazy is to think that just because you're an American, that if you left, you know, your town, you would be hunted and then killed with no accountability. There's still couple hundred Americans sitting there in Afghanistan, and I don't know if they chose to stay. I don't know if they're terrified. I don't know anything, but I can imagine that if they did not choose to stay, that they're probably, the assumption is that they're going to die. I mean, I would be surprised, I'd be shocked if they were confident that they would have a full life there. So that scares me for those Americans, but it scares me for the citizens there. You know, you and I, right now, anybody that's watching this video this long, it's almost 30 minutes. If you watch this video, you could text me, you could message me, and I would say, I'll be over there as fast as I can to pick you up in America or wherever, and we will drive wherever you want to go. And I could do that for free. I would probably make Stella upset. My job probably wouldn't like that, but we could do it because guess what? We live in a free country where we could use credit cards and find money in different places and have the ability to live out our dreams. You know, so I'm thankful for America. I'm very sad for people that don't understand the potential that our country holds. The people that scream at fast food workers because they put onions on their burgers. The people who are like upset and road raging because they're going to be late to a party or something. Like, it really bothers me. But anyway, I love you guys. I have a huge heart in life. And I want to live it to the fullest. I want to make a difference to my friends, my family, to people. When I die, I want people to remember that this guy loved people hard, and that was his motivation in life. I'm absolutely not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, and I hope to learn from them over and over again. But I just want you to know that I care about you. I'm proud to be an American. It was such an honor to serve my country in Afghanistan with the 173rd Bayonet Battalion, Sky Soldiers, and like, what an honor. If you ever had an opportunity to do that, you should do it. Love you guys.